Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's session. I'm excited to introduce you to our topic, Mega Goal 1.2, Unit 5. Did you hurt yourself? Today, we'll be exploring the form, meaning, and function of this important phrase. We'll look at how it's used, what it means, and how it functions in different contexts. So, let's get started and dive into this interesting language topic together. Today, we're going to focus on some key language skills for giving clear directions. First, it's essential to know how to use imperatives correctly. These are the commands or instructions we give to guide someone effectively. Next, we'll look at adverbs of manner, which help us describe how actions are performed, making our directions more precise and natural. Then, we'll explore the difference between the modal auxiliaries, must and should. Understanding when to use each will help us convey necessity versus advice more clearly. And finally, we'll review prepositions of place. These words are crucial for describing locations and directions accurately, ensuring our instructions are easy to follow. By mastering these points, you'll be able to give directions confidently and clearly, which ties directly into our overall theme of effective communication. On this slide, I want to emphasize how we use must to talk about laws and rules. For example, we say, "You must respect your parents," which shows that respecting parents is a moral obligation. Similarly, in a hospital setting, we say, "We must keep silent," because silence is required to maintain a peaceful environment. Another common use is in traffic safety, like drivers must wear a seat belt, which is a legal requirement to ensure safety. The key point here is that must is followed by the base form of the verb, which means we don't add any extra endings. It's a simple way to express obligation or something that is necessary to do. Whether it's rules, laws, or safety guidelines, must clearly indicates what is obligatory. Remember, these examples help us understand how modal auxiliaries like must are used in everyday communication to convey rules and responsibilities. This understanding is essential as we learn how to express obligations clearly and effectively in different contexts. Now, let's look at some practical examples of how we use should to give advice or make suggestions. For instance, he should stop smoking. This is a recommendation for someone who needs to improve their health. When we say should, we're not forcing someone, but we're suggesting that it would be a good idea. Another example is you should wear a helmet. This is advice, often related to safety, that we think is important for protection. Remember, should is followed by the base form of the verb, like stop or wear. It's a helpful way to give gentle advice or make suggestions that might be really important for someone's well-being or safety. These modal auxiliaries are useful tools in our language because they help us express advice and suggestions clearly and politely, fitting into the overall theme of effective communication. So, when you're facing car trouble, the first thing you should do is take it to a car mechanic. It's important to get professional help to ensure your vehicle is safe and properly repaired. Now, if you're driving and need to communicate, remember that speaking on the phone while driving is not safe. It's better to avoid it or use hands-free options if necessary. If you need assistance or directions, don't hesitate to ask someone nearby. Most people are willing to help. Also, always keep an eye on your speed. Slowing down can prevent accidents and keep everyone safer on the road. And finally, if you're running low on fuel or need a break, stop at a gas station. It's a good place to refuel, rest, and prepare for the next part of your journey. These are simple but essential tips to stay safe and make your driving experience smoother. Now, let's look at some important language points about necessity and prohibition. First, see the word mustn't. This is used to say that something is not allowed or is forbidden. For example, in the sentence, "He mustn't use his mobile phone while driving." We're emphasizing that using a phone while driving is prohibited for safety reasons. It's a strong way to express rules or laws. Next, we have must, which is used to express obligation or necessity. In the sentence, "He must go shopping. His fridge is empty." We're saying that going shopping is necessary because there's nothing to eat at home. Must shows that something is essential or quite important to do. Now, when we see must or mustn't together. It's about clearly differentiating between what is allowed and what is forbidden. Understanding these words helps us express rules, obligations, and prohibitions clearly and effectively. This concept fits into our overall theme of communicating rules and responsibilities accurately in English. All right, let's look at this slide. When we see mustn't, it means something is not allowed. For example, you mustn't swim here. That's a rule or a safety instruction. Swimming here is prohibited. Now, on the other side, we have must. When I say, drivers must stop because the kids are crossing, it highlights an obligation or rule. Drivers are required to stop in this situation for safety reasons. Finally, there's the part about must or mustn't. It's important to understand when to use each. Use must to show an obligation or a necessary action, and mustn't to indicate something that's forbidden. These words are essential for giving clear instructions and ensuring safety, whether telling someone what they have to do or what they are not allowed to do. And this idea connects to our overall theme of understanding rules and safety instructions in different contexts. All right, let's talk about why kids shouldn't eat junk food. As you can see on the slide, kids shouldn't eat junk food because it's not good for their health. Consuming too much fast food or sugary snacks can lead to health problems like obesity, cavities, and even long-term issues like diabetes. It's really important to understand that these foods are often high in unhealthy fats, sugar, and salt, which can do more harm than good. Now, the slide also shows that this is dangerous. Yes, it can be risky for children's health, so we need to be cautious about what they eat. The next point is that kids should sit down. This means that instead of snacking mindlessly while doing other things, they should sit down and think about what they are eating. Finally, the slide is emphasizing the difference between what they should and shouldn't do. We all want kids to make healthier choices, and that's why it's important for them to understand that junk food isn't the right choice. Encouraging them to sit down and think about their eating habits is a step toward better health. All right, let's take a closer look at this slide. We start with the statement, "He only speaks English. He can't speak French." This is a common way people describe language abilities, but it's also easy to see how it can be misleading or even incorrect. Now the next instruction is to replace can with can't. So, if we do that, the statement becomes, "He only speaks English. He can't speak French." This completely flips the meaning and can change how we perceive the person's language skills. Then we have the next statement, "He only speaks English. He can speak French." This is actually a different scenario. It's saying that despite only speaking English, he also has the ability to speak French. It might seem contradictory to the first statement, which is where the find the fib part comes in. The key point here is about identifying the false statement. What's the fib? It's a great way to highlight how easily we can be misled by language descriptions or assumptions. This ties into our overall theme, paying close attention to details and questioning what we hear or read. So, the challenge is to spot which of these statements isn't true, because understanding the truth behind language abilities is crucial in many real-world situations, from communication to decision-making. All right, let's look at this slide. So originally it says Sami is fat. He shouldn't eat so much junk food. But we need to change that should to shouldn't, which gives us Sami is fat. He shouldn't eat so much junk food. This change is important because it flips the meaning. Instead of implying that Sami needs to eat more junk food, it suggests he should actually eat less. It highlights how small word changes can completely alter the message. Now, the key point here is understanding how modal verbs like should and shouldn't work in English to give advice or make recommendations. And connecting this to the overall theme, it's about recognizing how language can be used to express different opinions or advice, which is essential for clear communication. Finally, there's the phrase, find the fib, which challenges us to spot the incorrect statement or the trick in the message. It encourages critical thinking about what we're reading and understanding the importance of paying attention to the details. Now let's look at some irregular adverbs. You might notice that some adverbs don't follow the usual lie ending pattern. For example, the adjective good becomes the adverb well, and late remains late. Similarly, straight stays straight, and hard stays hard. When it comes to adjectives like high, the adverb is also high, and for fast, it's fast as well. These are exceptions to the general rule, so it's good to be aware of them. Next, I want to highlight a common pattern with adjectives ending in y. When we turn these into adverbs, we change the y to I and then add ly. For instance, happy becomes happily, and easy becomes easily. This is a straightforward rule that helps you form adverbs from adjectives ending in y. In addition, many adverbs of manner are formed by simply adding ly to the adjective. For example, quick becomes quickly, careful becomes carefully, and gentle becomes gently. These adverbs tell us how something is done or how it happens. For example, you might ask, how did he drive? And the answer would be, he drove slowly. Or, how did she walk? And the response would be, she walked quickly. These adverbs of manner help us describe the way actions are performed, adding clarity and detail to our communication. Let's take a closer look at the words on this slide. Carefully, dangerously, fast, well, recklessly. These words all relate to speed, but they show us how the way we approach speed can make a big difference. For example, doing something carefully means you're paying attention, you're cautious, and you're trying to avoid mistakes or accidents. That's the safe way to go fast, like driving carefully on a busy street. Now, dangerously and recklessly are both about going fast in a way that's unsafe. When we act dangerously, we risk causing harm to ourselves or others. Recklessly takes that even further. It's rushing without thinking or considering the consequences. Then we have fast and well. Going fast can be good if it's done well. That means you're maintaining control and doing things properly. It's about balance, moving quickly but still with skill and awareness. The key point here is that speed itself isn't inherently bad. It's how we handle that speed that makes all the difference. Going fast carefully and doing things well can be positive, but rushing recklessly or dangerously can lead to problems. This ties into the overall theme of our presentation, understanding how our actions and decisions impact safety and success. It's not just about speed, but about how we manage it responsibly. And remember, these words are from Student's Book, page 14, which emphasizes the importance of making smart choices when moving quickly. Now, let's look at how adverbs work to describe actions more precisely. First, we have easily. For example, the student could solve the problem easily. Here, easily tells us how simple it was for the student to solve the problem. Next, we see badly. In the sentence, these two boys behave badly. Badly describes the way they behave, indicating their behavior isn't good. Then there's quickly. He ran quickly in order to catch the bus. Quickly shows how fast he was running, emphasizing the urgency and speed needed to catch the bus. The key point here is that adverbs often end in ly, and they help us add detail to verbs, giving a clearer picture of how actions are performed. Remember, when completing sentences with adverbs, choose words that accurately describe the manner of the action, whether it's easy, bad, quick, or any other way. This skill is essential because it makes your descriptions more vivid and your communication more precise, which ties into our overall theme of enhancing language clarity and expression. So let's look at some adverbs that help us describe how actions are performed. In the first sentence, he drives very. We need an adverb that describes how fast he drives. The correct word here is fast. When we say he drives very fast, it means he drives quickly, emphasizing the speed. Next, he speaks a lot of languages very. The word that fits best is well. So, he speaks a lot of languages very well. This means he is skilled in speaking those languages, and well is the adverb that describes how effectively he speaks. Finally, he must study to pass the exam. The missing word is hard. So, he must study hard. This indicates the effort he needs to put in, emphasizing the intensity of his studying. The key point here is that adverbs like fast, well, and hard help us describe actions more precisely. They connect to the overall theme of our presentation, which is about improving communication and performance by choosing the right words to express ourselves clearly and effectively. Now let's look at this example. He solved the problem quickly. Notice how we add lie to the end of the adjective quick to turn it into an adverb. This is a common way to modify verbs and describe how something is done. So instead of saying, he solved the problem quick, which is grammatically incorrect, we should say, he solved the problem quickly. The lie makes the adjective into an adverb, which is what we need here. And here's a quick tip. Whenever you're describing how an action is performed, try to remember to add lie to the adjective. Now let's move on to the next part, find the fib. Keep that in mind as a reminder to watch out for common mistakes like this. Let's take a look at this slide. The first statement says, I speak English well. Now notice that well is an adverb and it correctly describes how I speak English. The next point is a reminder that we must replace good with well in this context. This is because good is an adjective, and when we're describing how we do something, we should use the adverb well. So instead of saying, I speak English good, which is a common mistake, the correct way is I speak English well. This highlights an important rule about English grammar, using the right part of speech to match the sentence context. Now, as we connect this to the overall theme, it's about understanding the difference between similar words that often trip people up. Here, we're focusing on the distinction between good and well. Remember, good describes a noun, like a good book, a good idea, but well describes how an action is performed. Finally, the slide challenges us to find the fib. Can you spot the incorrect statement? That's right, it's I speak English good. Recognizing these small mistakes helps us improve our language skills and communicate more effectively. This slide doesn't contain enough information. That's why we're moving to the next slide. This slide doesn't contain enough information. That's why we're moving to the next slide. He is writing the board. Now, this is a great example to review prepositions of place. When we say on, we're indicating that something is positioned above a surface and in contact with it. So, in this case, the person is placing the writing directly on the board's surface. This preposition helps us specify exactly where the action is happening. Understanding these prepositions is essential for clear communication, especially when describing actions and locations. Remember, choosing the right preposition like on makes your descriptions precise and easy to visualize. Now, let's look at an example of how we use prepositions of place. The sentence is, he is standing in front of the bookcase. Here, the preposition in front of tells us the position of the person relative to the bookcase. It's a useful way to describe where someone or something is located in relation to another object. When you want to specify that someone is facing or positioned before something else, in front of is the perfect choice. Remember, prepositions like this help make our descriptions clearer and more precise. So, when you're talking about positions or locations, think about how prepositions of place, like in front of, can help you communicate effectively. Now let's look at this example of giving directions through a conversation. Ali asks, can you tell me where the airport is? Saad responds with clear instructions. Go straight and turn right after the petrol station. He then says, take this road, indicating which way to go, and continues, go past the car park, so Ali knows to pass that point. Finally, Saad tells him, you'll find the airport, which reassures him that he's heading in the right direction. This example highlights an important point about using the imperative form of verbs when giving directions. Notice that Saad uses the base form of the verbs like go, turn, and take. This is a common and effective way to give clear, direct instructions. Using the imperative makes your directions straightforward and easy to follow. It's an essential part of everyday communication when giving or asking for directions, especially in a conversational context like this. So, remember, when giving directions, keep your verbs in their base form. That's the key to clarity and efficiency. Next, I want to talk about how we take on challenges and move forward. When we face new situations, it's important to approach them with a mindset of taking on what's ahead. We need to go on, to keep progressing despite obstacles. Going on means staying committed and resilient as we navigate through different phases. From there, we often have to turn our focus or efforts in a new direction. Sometimes, we need to turn straight toward our goals or the next step in our journey. Ultimately, it's about moving forward, staying straight on course, and not getting distracted. This sequence, next, take on, go on from, to, turn, straight, is really a metaphor for how we approach growth and change in any project or challenge. It emphasizes staying proactive, adaptable, and focused on our ultimate objectives. All right, let's wrap things up with some practical application. On this slide, you'll see references to the workbook, specifically page 274, and exercise O. This is where you can reinforce what we've discussed today by doing some exercises on your own. The key point here is that practice solidifies learning, so I encourage you to complete this exercise thoroughly. Think of it as a way to connect the dots and really internalize the concepts we've gone over. Remember, this homework isn't just about finishing a task. It's about deepening your understanding and making the ideas your own. So, take your time, reflect on what you've learned, and see how it applies in real situations. This is a crucial step in ensuring that the knowledge sticks with you beyond today's session.